Look, I just want to move on to get to this breaking news because as we've just reported, Sharri Markson, my colleague, is reporting on the UN vote on whether or not to recognise Palestine as a state. Now, Sharri understands that Australia is all set to vote in favour of that motion. Tania, I find this personally extraordinary that we would be going here in the middle of a war zone, and simply because Hamas only wants one state, and that's its own terrorist state, and to wipe out Israel. And I can't imagine how this would further isolate Jewish Australians. What's your take on this?
Well, it's extraordinary because a couple of days ago the talk was that Australia would probably abstain, and that's certainly the feelers that the government was giving out to media. So it's unbelievable that within 48 hours the Australian government has made a decision, so it seems, to go ahead with giving Palestine observer rights, knowing all too well that we still have hostages, you know, mothers, children, women that have been kept hostage in Israel by Hamas, and a decision like this is being made that I can only accept and understand. For the Australian Jewish community, this must be devastating. Devastating, and I'd like to hear what Penny Wong has to say about it, because it doesn't seem to me that a lot of thought's been put into this. Within 48 hours to essentially change Australia's position from abstaining to now supporting observer rights is unbelievable.
Exactly, and Sharri Markson, just on that, understands that Penny Wong will speak tomorrow and will say that this doesn't constitute full bilateral recognition of Palestine. She will say that Hamas doesn't have any role in the Palestinian leadership, and she will condemn the October 7 attacks and call for the release of hostages, and that the UN vote may then be delayed until Tuesday. Craig, what's your take on this development?
So I think what you're saying there about, you know, the condemnations and so on is absolutely right. But, you know, we and you guys should always also recognise that there is also an Arabic and Muslim, you know, community in Australia, you know, and a very valuable community, part of our multicultural nation, and we have to be respectful to all communities, you know, at all times. And that's difficult at the moment because of, you know, the nature of, you know, this conflict that's going on. Isn't the policy of the two major parties to recognise a two-state solution? Yes,
but I mean, in the middle of a war, when you've got hostages, we don't know how many are alive. Yeah, Hamas committed atrocious acts on October 7. How can Australia be seen to be
October 7
taking this position in the middle of a war?
And so we've all, of course, condemned that. But, you know, there's also what's been characterised by the International Court of Justice as a plausible genocide going on now as well, and we need to be, you know, extremely concerned about that as well, right? So, you know, we have to make sure that, you know, both of those things are on the table because, you know, there's now a further escalation heading into Rafah, and there's 600,000 children there, right? So that's what concerns me. The reason I say that is because we're talking about timing. Yeah. So I'm a huge supporter of international law. I think if international law had have been implemented a long time ago, we very likely would not be in this situation, actually.
Yeah. But Hamas started this on October 7.
I'm not interested in Hamas.
And we're not, and nobody,
I'm not interested in Hamas.
Any deaths, any innocent civilians who lose their lives.
I support no organisation who wants the destruction of another. That's very clear because I support international law and that is illegal. Yeah. Right? The taking of civilian hostages is illegal, okay? But also indiscriminate bombing is illegal and genocide is certainly illegal. You know, it's the most grave crime that can be committed.
The better thing right now would have been to abstain, Craig, given everything you've just said.
So what I'm saying is that all people around the world have the right to self-determination and under international law, and I think Australia should recognise that for all people. That includes Israelis, that includes Jewish people, and that includes also Palestinians. And therefore, I think we have to take this decision and we must respect those rights.
Yeah, well, anything that looks like we're supporting or, you know, giving the green light to terrorism, I think is outrageous.
Well, I don't think that's...
I think it
people have the right... Yeah, both sides have rights, you know. Israelis have rights and Palestinians have rights.
Nothing's been resolved.
And so I don't think this should be conflated.
Both sides have rights, but in the middle of a war, which Hamas started when they butchered more than 1,000 Jews, they took people hostage, they raped women, tortured civilians. It's horrific.
And the Jewish community is suffering terribly, and the racism is up. But again, I think you guys should always acknowledge that at the same time, there's over 35,000 people being killed, like 20,000 women and children. Like, you guys feel strongly about that, right?
Any deaths of any civilians.
20,000 women and children.
All deaths are abhorrent.
Exactly.
That's not the point. But the point is Hamas started this war on October 7. Hamas wants one state, and that's a terrorist state. It wants its own state. That's the problem. That's the problem here.
But the issue here is not about Hamas. The issue here is about the right of self-determination to all people around the world, and Palestinians have that right.
I think this is a little bit more than that, Craig, and that's why I would have liked to heard from Penny Wong, and we'll all be waiting
for that announcement. But that breaking news this evening from Sharri Markson, I'm sure she will bring us the latest on that.